Hey guys, coming at you today with a delicious, soft and moist keto apple cider donut. And yes, there's apple cider in it, but it's still only 2 net carbs. So let's get started. Okay, the first thing I did was I looked up an original baked apple cider donut recipe. There was only a half cup of apple cider in there, which is only 14 grams of carbs. My donuts are only 1 net carb. So it only adds an extra carb. Now, there were some recipes that had more apple cider and you reduced it down to about a half a cup. So you can also do that. If you want to do a whole cup of apple cider, reduce it down to a half cup, and then that gives you 2 extra net carbs per donut. So it's just 3, which still I don't think is that bad, especially if you're craving some apple cider donuts. There wasn't much difference in recipes. Like, I had butter and I had buttermilk, so I just did the apple cider, and then my recipe had 6 ounces of buttermilk, so I did 2 more ounces. It had a little bit more butter than my original, so I added butter, and there was more sweetener. But you can cut down the sweetener if you want. It is a lot more than my original birthday cake donut recipe. And you're coating these in butter and more cinnamon sugar. So we're starting off with our butter. I already have 5 ounces or 10 tablespoons in here. And then the other 6 are in a small container that we're going to melt and brush on the donuts. Now we need to add our sweetener to our butter. We need 144 grams of golden, which is 3/4 of a cup. And I'm just following the recipe that was online, so it had some brown and some regular granular sugar. So I'm doing a 1/4 cup of classic. So that makes a whole cup of sugar, 48 grams, 1/4 cup. And we're gonna whip that till it's light and fluffy. While that's going, I have 2 eggs coming to room temperature. I did soak them in a little bit of warm water. And I'm gonna get our dry ingredients ready and our wet ingredients. I'm gonna whip this extra because it's that new golden monk fruit erythritol blend I bought, and it's a little bit more grainy, so I'm gonna whip the crap out of this. I don't want grainy cooling effect on my donuts because you're already putting a bunch of sweetener on top, which also gives it cooling effect. So you don't want any inside your donut, and beating the crap out of your sweetener usually cuts down on the cooling effect. As for the dry ingredients, I followed similar to what I already had for my vanilla cake donuts. I just changed up how much psyllium husk was in there. Pretty much the exact same leavening agents were in the original recipe that I had and the apple cider donut recipe. The apple cider donut recipe had 1 1/4 teaspoons of baking powder. I'm doing 1 teaspoon and a half teaspoon of baking soda. My usual 1 teaspoon of xanthan gum. Then I'm doing unflavored whey protein isolate. But if you do have an apple or a cinnamon bun or something like that, that would work. The only thing I've noticed, I tried swapping out my whey protein, my unflavored, for chocolate in my Swiss roll recipe, and it got way too gummy because there are like acacia gum or xanthan gums and stuff like that in your flavored protein powders to give them the thickness. So my suggestion would be, if you're going to use that, maybe cut out your xanthan gum out of the recipe because you're using 90 grams of protein powder. If acacia gum is the second ingredient, I mean, it goes by order of how much is in there. So like if it's whey protein isolate and then xanthan gum is the second most prevalent ingredient in the mix. So I would start with not having any xanthan gum if you're using a flavored whey protein that has some kind of gum in it. And then just those 90 grams, I'll figure out the cup measurement. I just look it up online. It's really hard to judge protein powders because if you pack them down, they weigh way more than if you just kind of fluff them in there. So it's hard to be accurate with protein powder. 45 grams of coconut. Like I said, I just do an extra tablespoon of the psyllium husk because we added extra liquid from the original apple cider donut recipe, and we upped the butter a little bit. So this should be 15 grams. Again, 1 tablespoon, still only 4 grams. I don't know. I always just do it by grams because that was only 14. There we go. That's all the dry ingredients: butter and sweetener, egg, dry ingredients, and then the apple cider. Almost forgot 1 teaspoon of cinnamon and a half teaspoon of nutmeg. Obviously, if you're using a flavored whey protein, cut down on the cinnamon or whatever spices you're adding and the sweetener, because there is sweetener in those protein powders. If you have apple pie spice, you could also use that in this. I do not. That has like cardamom and stuff in it too. That's it. I'm gonna sift and whisk this, and then I'm gonna finish whipping up my butter and sweetener, and then we'll get adding everything. I preheated my oven to 350. I'm spraying. This is gonna make 14 donuts. 14 or 15. I'm going to use a piping bag that has a pretty decent size hole in it. You want to only go around 1 time around your donut mold. Smells like fall in here. Now, if you don't have someone in your family that's going to drink the apple cider, you can freeze apple cider. You can also just make a bunch of donuts and freeze the donuts. They freeze well, they hold well. The nice thing about keto baked goods, most of them you can freeze because they have such a high fat content. They don't dry out, they don't get crystally and like tough. Or just make a bunch and give them to your neighbors. I'm sure they'll appreciate them. That's it. Now the time I think is about 12 minutes. 6 turn 6. So we're going to start with, and we'll be back to pop them out and get them coated in the delicious butter and cinnamon sugar. So I already melted 6 tablespoons of butter. So altogether you're going to need 2 whole sticks for this. And since we're not really baking anything, it's a half cup or 96 grams, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. I'm gonna put it a little bit bigger than this so I can like swirl the donut around. I don't remember what I did last time, but it was definitely in one of these. So that I can brush and then dunk and kind of swirl it to get it all coated. We're gonna dunk these when they're still a little bit warm. They need 30 more seconds. Now they're bouncing back. We'll let these cool for like 30 seconds and we're gonna pop them out. I found with these pans, literally turn them over, pop them out. Well, sometimes. That's the importance of greasing them. Worked on the last ones. It's the importance of having a good spray nozzle on your avocado oil. I don't like that avocado oil. It doesn't spray in like a mist. It does for like the first like quarter of a bottle, and the rest doesn't. There are donuts. Thought they were just gonna come right out. Apparently not. Now, I do not prefer this pastry brush. I still have yet to find one that is decent. This is what just happened. A whole chunk of the bristles came out. And this was on like a restaurant kind of site that's supposed to have like good products. So I have like literally like pieces of friggin' bristle coming out. But I have no other pastry brush. So I just got to go with it and just make sure we don't have anything on our donuts when we're done. So brush it and dunk it. Yeah. Push it. Dunk it. This must be the one that we're gonna eat. I did try dunking the donuts right in the butter. It was a little bit too much butter. Last one, and then I got the last 3 in the oven. I'm gonna get those done, and then we can try some of these guys. Yummy. Oh, the donuts. I might have accidentally forgot about those for a little while, so they're a little bit darker than the rest. But they look delicious and smell like apple and cinnamon. Okay, time to try. Super fluffy inside. So good. Be delicious with some coffee. But I already had my 1 cup today. They're so good. Definitely taste the apple, cinnamon, tiny bit of nutmeg. Delicious. I've been allowing myself more carbs like fruits and whole grains. So I should go apple picking this year because I haven't went apple picking in like 3 years. And apples do sound really good right now. I've been craving grapes. Grapes and apples. These hit the spot. So good. Okay, gotta try to get back into it. I just had a fan come in from California who was here visiting someone in the area, so I had to take a little break. But these donuts are delicious, and I hope you guys try them out for yourself. And if you do, let me know in the comments below how you like them, if you change them up, if you put in a flavored protein, or you did a little extra apple cider and you reduced it down to make it even more appley. Let me know. Don't forget to check out my Amazon links and the blog link to the full recipe in the description box below. Give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And as always, I'll be back with many more keto dessert recipes. Bye guys.